All right, welcome everyone. I'm doing like a creepy who do I know here, and the first person I see is Tori, who was on the last one of these that we did. She just happened to be first there. Oh, it's great to see some faces I recognize, a few I don't, a few screens. We'll give it another minute or so, and then we'll kind of jump right in.
Liz, I'm sorry there are no small humans today.
I know. I was about to say, like, I don't even know why you show up to these if you're not gonna have your. One thing I have appreciated about Zoom and moving everything virtual is I genuinely get a kick out of seeing people's kids or their dogs, and I'm never upset when there's a kid yelling in the background. I'm like, whatever, you're working from home. Can I see your kid? Which is creepy, but I also think that it's like we gotta make each other feel okay during these times, and I can't imagine what that's like having a tiny human trying to get your attention all the time. So I just lean into it. I'm like, I think it's funny, but it's okay that it's not here. What was that?
That is appreciated.
Okay. I mean, I'm happy to see you too, Tori. I do love you, but those boys, they're just so cute. I just finished doing earlier today, I sent out, we do a weekly email that goes out to the RAs, and I was able to show a picture of my dog because RAs have been like, we want to see your dog. And so I was like, here's some pictures. Can't be here live, unfortunately. All right. Here, let's get these.
Cooper.
Here. Cooper.
I miss Cooper.
He is a good guy.
He was conference mascot a couple years ago.
He was, yes, back in Erie. We were allowed to bring dogs, and so I did it. And it was fun. There was just a lot of goose poop everywhere in Erie because we were right by the water, and Cooper was very interested in that. This is a very interesting beginning of a Makuho mid-level. But now y'all know I have a dog. I guess I'll go ahead and get started. So hi, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Alley. You can call me Liz. I am currently the Assistant Director for Residential Education at St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia. We are open. We have been open. It's been a little hellacious, but at the same time, also kind of like, wow, we're still doing this. We're still standing. So there's like pride, and also I want to vomit on like a regular basis. So there's that. I also am the outgoing engagement coordinator for mid-levels. I've been with Makuho for a few years now. I've served in a variety of roles from just like the Northeastern PA. Rep was my very first thing, and then I was on PPD, and now I'm currently finishing this term as the mid-level engagement coordinator. I say this because this will need to be filled. So if anyone on this call is thinking, "Ooh, I'd like to get more involved in Makuho," this is a huge opportunity. You can feel free to reach out to me or reach out to Misty, who, yep, she's just waving her hand there. Misty's on the call. Misty is currently like supervises the engagement coordinators. She is also stepping out of this role just at the end of her term, and yeah, so if you're interested, let us know. All right. There's quite a lot of us on here. I don't want to necessarily jump right into it. I'm wondering if we might be able to do a quick like hello and what school you're from. And because Zoom windows change all the time, what I will do is be that awkward person like, okay, now you next, because I'll just go in order with my screen. This is COVID times, and this is what we do. So I shared a little bit about me. Next up would be Stacy. Stacy, could you kick us off and just say what institution you're at and what your role there is?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Stacy Green. I'm an Assistant Director of Residence Life for Programming and Marketing at Kutztown University.
Awesome. Thank you. And are you open or closed right now?
We are open. We have a little over 50% capacity right now of students, although I think only 5% of our classes are fully in person, 35% are hybrid, which most of that our students are telling us is mostly online and not actually hybrid, and then the other 60% is online. And we are doing in-person programs as well. which I have to go to at 3 to go set up. So I might leave early to do that.
Doesn't stop. All right. Well, thank you, Stacy. Misty, you would be next.
Hello. Hi, Misty Denham Barrett, she, her. I am currently the Director of Membership Development, cycling out. So if anyone is interested in filling an EC position, please email me. Be happy to get you connected to Tiffany for that interest. And I am currently the Associate Director of Residence Life at American University in Washington, D.C. We are closed for the most part. We have a small population of emergency housing spaces for students on campus, less than 50. And I'm overseeing that area directly with one community director. So, but the majority of our entire population is remote otherwise.
Great. Thank you, Misty. Tori, without your sons.
Tori without the minis. Tori Liska, Assistant Director of Residence Life at Montclair State. Slightly gloomy out here in this area. I am Kuho Secretary right now. We are open, close to 70% on campus, and it is a wild ride, folks.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have time to talk about that. All right, next would be Ryan. Ryan, go.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ryan Young. I'm the Associate Director of Residential Living at Temple University, and I've been at Temple and in Makuho for about a year. So this is my first event, and excited to meet everybody. We are mostly closed. We have about 1,200 residents on campus. As you heard during the opening, Shayna and Olin referred to, we closed. We pivoted halfway. So once we opened and moved folks in, we then turned around and closed and sent a majority of our folks home. So we have athletes, RAs, students who, international students, other students who couldn't go home, et cetera, continuing to live with us. And our spring is still to be determined. So we're not quite sure what we're dealing with in the next couple of months.
Yeah, I feel like there's a few others in here who are probably going to be similar. Like, we just don't know what the next step is, which is a lot, especially when you're a mid-level. So, well, thank you, Ryan. Next would be Ken.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ken Listoka. I'm the Assistant Director of Housing and Residence Life at Northampton Community College. Yes, we're a community college that has housing. We're in the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania. We are currently open. We are probably at about a little under half capacity right now. Majority of our students are in singles, and we're surviving the day to day in this COVID madness. That is our reality. Good to see everybody.
Fun fact, Ken, this is super random, but I grew up in the Lehigh Valley, and I actually teach online for Northampton. So I know they're open. Okay. I'm hearing all the emails. I'm getting it from two ends, from St. Joe's and from Northampton. I'm like, well, why have I done this to myself? But yeah, Northampton's an amazing community college. It's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, next up will be Kate Garlick.
Hello, I'm Kate Garlick. I am at Davis and Elkins College in Elkins, West Virginia. I am the Assistant Dean of Students, and I am also the Title IX and Section 504 coordinator for our institution. And we are also open. We are pretty close to almost full capacity. We do have a hybrid model, but most of our students will say that if it is a hybrid model, most of them are online and not in person.
Yeah. Great, thank you. Next would be Bernadine.
Hi, my name is Bernadine Griffin. I'm the Senior Coordinator of Residence Life at Goldie Beacom College. We are currently not, we're technically closed, but like many people, we had emergency people. We closed 2 days before move-in, the same day our RAs moved in for training, so that was fun. And of course, that's when we were supposed to open our brand new 5-story residence hall that we had just finished building. So it's been interesting, but we're looking forward to hopefully being in person in the spring and being able to show off the bright new shiny building that we've been waiting 3 years for this moment. And of course, everything that we built in there is now, we shouldn't be using common bathrooms, common kitchens, everything else was apartment style before. So we really took a step back during this, but yeah, still excited.
Oh man, that is rough. Just like another example of coronavirus. You've got these great big plans you've been waiting for so long, and then nope. And even the layout of your building is not what you need it to be. So that's rough. I definitely feel for you. Next will be Joey.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Joey Homan. I'm literally right down the road from Elizabeth at Villanova University. In housing operations here. I've been here for about 3 years. And I also sit on the housing and facilities operations. I'm co-chair with Thor. And I just joined about 6 months ago and just took on officially about 2 weeks ago. So I'm excited. This is my first MCUHO. I think I attended NATC back maybe 10 years ago or so. But officially kind of just getting settled into MCUHO and everything like that. Villanova is open. We are currently about 85% of our students still on campus, only probably about 40% in-person classes. Our last day is in November 25th. We'll be wrapping up for the semester. They'll go home and then we'll reopen back in late January. Yeah.
Yeah, Villanova was the school every day in September I'd wake up and I was like, did Villanova close? Because if they close, we're going to close, like a snow day. But it hasn't happened. We're still going strong. So, but I was definitely keeping my eye on your school and your dashboard just to see.
Right. Yeah. We made national news there in early in August. Yeah.
Yep. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Katie, who I feel like I haven't seen in a long time. But hi, Katie. Oh, you're muted.
Hi, I'm unmuted now. I'm Katie Beener. I am the Assistant Director of Residence Life, overseeing facilities and ops at Frostburg State University. I am so excited to see everybody again. I wasn't at the conference last year, so had a lot of life transitions, but I'm here now.
Awesome.
Oh, and we're open. We're at 70%. Yeah.
Next up, I feel like this man needs no introduction, but he's here and he's next in my queue. So, President Johnny, would you like to do an introduction of yourself?
Yeah, sure. Because I'm most definitely in the mid-level group. So, hey, everyone, I'm Johnny from West Virginia University, where as of only a few weeks ago, I now serve as the Assistant Director of Residence Life, overseeing night staff operations in the residential curriculum. So you can see that they just smashed two things together and said, hey, do this, because that makes a lot of sense. But we are currently on campus and in person, but we've been back and forth several times. We stay in person until the cases get high, then we go online, and then we go back, and then we go back again. So that's where we currently are. Great to see everyone.
Thank you, Johnny. All right, next will be Dominic.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Dominic, and I work at Misericordia University, which is in Dallas, Pennsylvania. If you know where that is, it's kind of north towards Scranton, Pennsylvania, kind of about 40 minutes from there. And I am the area coordinator for Residence Life. I also do our themed housing, and I work mainly with our first-year population, incoming and current, and throw some programming in there too. So kind of a bunch of different things. We are open, I would say probably about 70–80% at capacity, and we are doing pretty well up here in the mountains, not near a busy city, so everybody's kind of following what they're supposed to be doing, and hopefully it stays that way until Thanksgiving.
Awesome. You actually work with one of my very best friends, Callie Rimpel. We were ACs together in Scranton. I love that there's still all these connections, even though we're on a Zoom and a virtual format. It's like, I know you. Oh, I know your school. So I'm glad to see that the virus hasn't taken all the fun things from us. So, but really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you and everybody.
Emily, am I saying that? Am I pronouncing it correctly, or is it Emile?
No, it's Emily.
Okay, cool.
I decided to be difficult when I was born, but my name is Emily. I work at Felician University in Rutherford, New Jersey. I am a residence director, but we're very small, so we do lots of stuff that upper people do in the office. So we are about 70-80% of our capacity, and like everyone else is saying, we're doing okay. Our school is closing or going virtual after Thanksgiving, but they've decided to leave our residence halls open, so that should be very fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Emily. Next would be Andrew.
Hello, everyone. I'm Andrew Price, and I am one of the associate directors at Shepherd University in the Eastern Panhandle of West Virginia. So, hello. We are open. I guess Johnny's here. Most other schools in West Virginia, we just watch what WVU does, and then we just steal all your notes later. So, but we are open. We're down to kind of halved all of our occupancy. So we only have one student per bedroom. So that means we also now have a local hotel as our on-campus housing kind of thing. And so it's a little bizarre, but we're still here.
Yeah, we have a hotel as well. It's a very interesting dynamic. And just even fascinating to see how a hotel manages residents, if you will, versus how we do. I have found that relationship very fascinating. They think that we're crazy and vice versa. So awesome. All right, next would be Kelly.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly Matheson. I work at Gettysburg College as one of the first-year residential life coordinators. We're currently we have a residential cohort, that's what we're calling it. It's all first-year students that wanted to live on campus, plus international students, students who, you know, claimed difficulty and they wanted to stay on campus. So there's a mixture of upperclassmen who had like lab components and fun things like that. Yeah, I think that's, yeah. So there's about 900, and you're probably hearing the train go past my house right at the time I unmute myself. I live in Gettysburg, right where Lincoln went past me in on the railroad. So that's me. And I'm also the basket raffle chair committee chair. So let me know if you have any questions about that.
I love that we all heard the train in Gettysburg. Like, this is what we get when I see people's kids. I'm like, no, it's fun. So I actually love, we got a piece of Gettysburg just right now. So thank you, Kelly. That was a big deal.
Legit, the train station, as I could throw a rock at it. It's that close from my window. The cats and I have gotten used to it, but everyone loves it on a Zoom call.
I can see how you would be a little bit over it. So, all right, next, I really like your name, Elizabeth Estelle.
Thanks, I like your name too. So I am obviously Elizabeth Estelle. I am the coordinator for Residence Life Operations at Georgian Court University in Lakewood, New Jersey. We are open-ish. We have about 55% occupancy, but all of our classes are pretty much still virtual. So all of our occupants right now are athletes, international students, or those who have hard home lives and just to do better academically here on campus. So we're trudging along, but I like to say we're open-ish because my office is pretty much the only one who's here on a regular basis.
Yep. Yeah, I feel that. Anyone else, maybe just by a head nod if your screen is on. Are you the only office that's open and so everyone's giving you the questions, or you're just the, yeah. That's funny, the contact tracers here are so overwhelmed by that. They're like, parents are mean. And I'm like, welcome to Residence Life's hell. Let me give you some tips. You're going to be okay. But it's it is funny to see other people kind of struggling with that, or like, not realizing we're getting all their questions. So I definitely feel you on that one. What's up? Okay. Oh, this is truly one of my favorite people. He might be my favorite person in all of Makuho, and that is going to make some people upset. But Brian Placino, I just want to grab a beer with you and talk about life all the time. Could you introduce yourself, you amazing human being?
Well, that introduction is better than anything I'm going to give any of you. So we'll leave it at that. But my name is Brian Placino. He, him, his. I'm soon to be newly minted Associate Director of Operations at Stockton University. I am right now, for COVID purposes, I'm in charge of all food delivery and doing the food deliveries and transporting all the students to their testing, and quarantining the students and isolating the students. And we also were at Res Life, we were doing all the contact tracing, and we, I don't know, man, 2020. But I'm over at Stockton University in South Jersey, and we're just, sitting in the dumpster fire and just embracing the flames. So, thank you for that lovely introduction. That probably the best part of my day and week. And that's, I guess I'm okay.
I guess.
Thank you.
in the chat, Tori said, and you need a beer, and Misty said, or 5. So we'll keep it to 5 o'clock, everyone. We'll save it for 5 o'clock. We're still on the clock, but I do agree, Brian. That sounds like a lot, and I do want to talk about that in a bit, just like how we're all doing and the new responsibilities we're taking on. We're almost there. We just have maybe, I think, 3 more people. Michael would be next if Michael is available. There he is.
How are y'all doing? I'm Mike Arokis. I work for American Campus Communities up here in Newark, New Jersey. And we have been open through this whole thing nonstop. Never stops.
Can't stop, won't stop. All right, thank you. Next would be Jeremy.
Good afternoon. I'm Jeremy Glover. I'm one of the other resident directors at Felician University in Rutherford, New Jersey. Sorry, my camera's off. I'm in a very awkward spot in my apartment. But like Emily said, we're open, staying open past Thanksgiving. So that's pretty much what's going on with us.
Yeah, great. Yeah, no worries. If anyone can multitask, it's Res Life, so no worries. I just wanted to make sure that that we got a chance to meet you. And last one is Marcia.
Hi, good afternoon. Marissa, yes.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Marissa. I'm the Associate Director for Residence Life at Caldwell University in New Jersey. We are hybrid for most of the semester, but most of our students would say that they're virtual. We're at about a little bit less than 50% capacity, and that's about it.
Well, thank you. We do have one other name. He's not creeping on us, but James Bauman is helping us here. He's with Akuho I. He is just our tech guru to make sure I don't screw anything up too much. And I feel like I've done enough Zooms at this point now that I don't think I screw things up anymore, but hey, it is 2020. And so, well, thank you all for being here. I know it took a while, but I feel like virtual is hard sometimes, and whatever we can do to actually get to meet each other and connect is so important. So thank you for that, little icebreaker, if you will. So I really wanted to start just by asking, how are we all doing? Because I feel like we ask our students that a lot, and no one really checks in on us. And as a mid-level, where I've really been feeling it is senior staff are working on big things and they have their own headaches. The entry-level staff is looking at you like, give me something because I don't know how to handle this and you've got to tell me. And you're just like, I feel like I'm ping-ponging. Add on all the responsibilities you have now that you never had before, but you have now with COVID. I really just felt it was important to just check in with my fellow mids and be like, how are you doing? And this is a safe space. So anyone who kind of wants to start, I know it's broad, but I feel like it's just important for us to check in on each other. So anyone care to kick us off? Stacy, I think I saw your hand going. Yeah, go for it.
Sure. So I'm tired. I think most people can probably relate to that, especially as the programming person, because we've been directed to do in-person programming on a large scale outside, which, obviously causes its own issues, but also telling students you still have to keep your mask on and stay 6 feet apart at this event. So we have to find spaces that allow for that and events that allow for that. And as somebody who actually had COVID several months ago, I was still working while having it virtually, obviously not interacting with anyone in person, but running an interview process and everything like that. So I'm exhausted. And I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving when they all go home and I don't have to do in-person programs anymore for a little bit. So that'll be nice. But yeah, it's exhausting. Like I said, I have an event I have to run to start setting up at 3. And I'm ready for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're the only ones being required to do in-person programming, whereas like the actual student activities people are able to do all virtual. And, you know, we have to get like special permission in order to work from home, even though like 90% of the university is working from home. So it's just like all the things.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw some heads nodding there when you said that you were the only office required to do in-person programming. Is that other people are experiencing that as well? I'm seeing a lot of head nods. I won't throw in another question. I do want to ask, like, how are you doing? But feel free to, you know, expand upon that if you need to.
I just want to say, like, not only are we the only people that are really doing any programming, but we're also like, because we're here and because they know that like our professional staff members live on campus, they're like other offices are like, oh, you guys can do this because you're there. Like, why should I come in when you're already there? So now we're getting all that thrown at us as well. So that's been difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that too. Like for my my campus, we're very small, so we are testing our residents weekly, and all live on staff. So me and my coworkers actually became certified nursing assistants, or sorry, nursing aides, to help administer actually COVID testing because we're here and we're convenient and the residents need it. So that was an 8-hour test to do that. That's temporary.
Yeah. Did they also make you take the contact tracing test, that 8-hour course as well, or no, they're just having you do like what's still a big deal, they just have you in there with the testing?
Yeah, we just do the testing part, and then I believe the state is actually the one that will do the contact tracing for us. All of our tests are coming from the state, so it just worked out easier that way.
All right. Well, thank you.
I'll chime in on the programming aspect of it too. We've been experiencing a similar thing. When we came in, you know, all the RAs have been doing passive or virtual programming, and now that's kind of somewhat affected. The students are all zoomed out, as I'm sure we all are, and they're not logging into virtual programs. So it's not, all right, well, why don't you guys do some stuff outside, and why don't you plan some things? So we have our first like big outdoor event coming up next week, and it's like, well, you need to do more of this. We're like, well, it's getting cold. We can't keep doing this unless you want to like provide space heaters or something. Like, it's not really that effective. So yeah, programming has definitely been a challenge. I'm glad that there's a lot of like programming sessions during this conference too, to try to get some more ideas, because my staff is struggling with that.
I know we've had fun. Oh, sorry, Ryan. I'm gonna go.
Go for it.
Real quick thought is we've had a lot of fun here because everything in our restart plan says if programming can happen virtually, it needs to happen virtually. So we've been planning everything virtually, and we keep getting directives that say you need to do in-person events, make it happen. Like, but the directive says no. Oh, we'll make it happen.
Yeah,
Kind of
that
feels
was going
like,
to be.
oh, sorry, Ryan. No, you go, you go.
I was going to say something similar to what Tori was saying, like being, we're getting lots of forwarded parent complaints from upper administration who have told us to do everything virtually. But then the parents are like, why aren't you doing anything in person? We're like, because we're directed to do it virtually. They're like, well, who should we talk to? We're like, university leadership is telling us this. They're like, well, they're the ones who said you get to do this. And it's like, they keep putting it back to us. But as soon as we say we want to do this, they're like, no, virtual. So they won't even take ownership of their own decisions and how the direction that the university is going. So it is very frustrating.
Yeah. We are experiencing that same thing. Directive was do it virtual, and then everyone's here, and the students are upset because they just sit in their rooms all day, which we kind of told them was what the experience is going to be like. And now it's you have to do it in person. And the RAs are really struggling with that because their response was, oh, so you want me to do it virtually, but now people are bored, and so you want me to put myself at risk. And it's so hard managing that conversation and trying to bring it back to like the student experience when they're saying, well, we're students too. It's definitely difficult. how are other people doing? Like, how are you feeling? What are there things you need? We could talk most of the time about how we're getting through all the COVID stuff, but I just wanted to give that space for anyone who kind of needed to like just vent and say how they're doing if you don't have that chance to do it elsewhere.
I think that, and I'm sure most people can agree, I think the most perplexing part isn't that we're all being asked to do things that are outside what we deem to be the realm of our jobs, because if we all took a hard look at it, everything's in the realm of our jobs as per everyone around us. I think it more so for me, the struggle is that I feel that there's never been a point in time where I've looked around the room, I guess, and seen that we're all struggling on a different wavelength than we've ever had before. And it's so uniformed that usually, with no disrespect to any of us, usually you're able to go around and say, okay, well, you're struggling with that. So you can give, hi, can I help you? We're here to pick up. I'm here to pick up my stuff. Okay, can you
This is the story of interacting with Brian. If anyone has ever had a conversation on the phone, this is him. Hi, Brian.
and thought. He's got decisions to make. But he was getting somewhere and I was so on the edge of my seat, like, what sage-like advice are you going to drop on me right now, Brian? And then a student, which I get. It's our job. Anyone else want to go?
If I could go, I think, or even kind of where Brian was headed, I was starting to, even in my own way, kind of connect that. It's just, I know for me, kind of being in like a smaller department and all that, it's just, there's also that feeling of not being able to just kind of just like myself, just like vent. Yeah. So I have like a close friend of mine who also works in higher ed. And I think we both, at a different institution, we both agreed to just kind of be each other's like after work, I'm venting, I'm gossiping, I'm doing whatever, just kind of like, just to unload it, because it, for me, that helps kind of like frame around it. But to that point of just like seeing how stuff's getting shared around, just that exhaustion a little bit of, I know for me, like, luckily for us, like programming and stuff, a lot of that's really been kind of hands off. There isn't a lot of ask. Actually, we have been taking program ideas because some of our RAs want to get a little bit more creative than just virtual, or we've been doing a lot of like pack a goodie bag and drop it by doors kind of thing to stay distant. And so some of them are like, can I do s'mores outside? And so they're actually trying to come up with more engagement. And so we've been passing that along, and some of that stuff's been kind of like, you can under these very strict rules. So I will say on that end, you know, I'm definitely lucky hearing several of y'all talk about that kind of being pressure to be in person. I know for us, there's that exhaustion feeling, because it's like when on a piece of paper, res like, oh, y'all got like 40 people over there, so here's a bunch of stuff. When it's like, okay, but hold on, there's like some people are interns, some people are undergrads, some people, you know. And what I've done twice now is that we had like a write-up of like, here's how we're going to do this thing. And I sat down and went through the whole thing and put in like columns, like residence life's responsibilities as listed in this document, and several other departments. And not, and you know, then I'm also kind of holding that weight on my shoulders, not to just be this like curmudgeon to everybody, but just a visual of like this bulleted list, and the res life columns like this long, and the next longest is this, you know. And so it's kind of that like wanting to share in that with my colleagues, but just being in that like advocacy mode. And then when I get off work, just being like, who do you complain with?
Yeah.
If I could share, I think what I struggle with the most is not having that support from upper leadership. We've been like, I went back into the office in July after a month of furlough, and it was kind of like, here are 50 voicemails, start listening. And it was me and one other person. And since then, I have not left the office. And I've been sick this week, not with COVID, thankfully, but like I think it's just been exhaustion. And then having that like attitude from other people, like you're home for the third day and you're going to work from home when you've been working in the office. Like saying like these people are working in the office and these people working from home, and it's our upper leadership that's working from home most of the time. So like just that, like not that support of like, Kelly, take a nap and do what you need to do because you've been programming and supporting your staff on call, delivering food, all of that garbage. And then it's just more so of like, when are you coming back?
Yeah.
I think for me, the hardest thing has been like, I'm a very big people's person. Like, you know, Res Life, like we love to be around people. And this past year I had been moved off campus because we needed my apartment for students to move into because we were at full capacity. So my college actually moved me off. So I was on my own off campus and I couldn't wait to come back and be around like people again, which I know sounds weird. Like you really wanted to live on campus, but I lived for that whole, let me just walk down the hall to the student center and like hang out for a little bit. And then I moved back over the summer. And we're completely virtual. We don't have in-person events. And then when we work in the office, we're staggered. So it's usually one person at a time in the office. So either way, like it's still like you're home by yourself, you're in the office by yourself. So I was really looking forward to being able to be around people. We're not even supposed to be around RAs in person unless they're picking something up. So definitely a different world than what I was looking forward to coming back and like connecting with.
Yeah. I know for me, oh, Emily, were you going to go? Go for it.
Okay, if you wanted to say something.
No, go for it.
I was just saying, like, I wanted to say, like, I think also as like a younger professional that's trying to like move up the ladder, I've been kind of like halted, you know, like you can't go anywhere because nobody's hiring, but yeah, so that's been tough.
Yeah. I was just going to say, for me, it felt like I've just not stopped since March. We were on spring break when everything happened. And I remember we were supposed to go to pro staff training, and instead my boss was like, you, conference room, go. And all we did like from that point on. And because it was spring break, no one had their books with them. So we let everyone come back to get their stuff. And instead of closing the halls at that point, they're like, let's try and stay open. And then a week later, they're like, we should close down. And our move out process took over a month. It was like all of April into May. And it was sign up for appointments. And then I can't come at that time. Why can't I come right now? And I'm like, because we're socially distancing and I'd like to keep you safe. And well, that's stupid. And it's like everything that you're doing to try and make it safe, everyone's just like yelling at you because they either think you're not doing enough or you're doing too much and you're stifling them. And we didn't get a weekend off until Memorial Day. It was insane. And I feel like for me, as much as I can, like, I talk with my students about, like, you can have conflicting emotions. Like, I can feel very grateful that I have a job, and I can feel very bitter because every day it's just like, what fresh hell awaits me? And you try and go into it, but it sometimes it's really hard when parents are just yelling at you in one ear. Even with the parents who are like, thank you, we appreciate it, it can be hard if your experience is that you're still open. And I feel like bitter is just the word I have sometimes. I think there's still joy and like things that we can do, but like I said, you can have these conflicting emotions, and like that gratitude that we have jobs is so there. And then you're in the middle of moving like 5 students to quarantine or isolation, and you get a good old fashioned drunk student, and you're like, do I have to deal with this right now? And then part of you is like, actually, I appreciate the simplicity of like, I know how to manage this, right? Versus the, you know, the difficulties of organizing these larger things. But it's so funny to see like where my head goes with like, what is what I'm okay to work on and what am I just kind of over? It's very different, and it just changes all the time. And I think sometimes I have a hard time keeping up with my own emotions in that sense. It's been a little bit there. One of the things that we talk, I think, a lot about in Res Life is that work-life balance. And like, you know, you have to be able to carve out that work-life balance and what are you doing for yourself? And I think we talk about that almost ad nauseum whenever we're at a conference because we all need to hear it. We need to hear each other say it to us. What has that been like for you in here, especially as a mid-level and you have responsibilities for your seniors and for your entry-level staff? How are you doing with that balance?
I know go ahead, Misty.
It's okay, go ahead, Ken.
I was gonna say I've made it a point during lunch to just get out and just take a walk. I mean, I do that now because before I used to just work right through lunch and just sit at my desk and kind of plow through lunch and not really do anything. Now I just make it a point to block out my calendar. If it's nice outside, go out, take a walk, clear my head, take that deep breath. The other thing too I've done is for my RD, so I supervise, I've included that actual question into our one-on-ones. What are you doing to take care of your own personal wellness, your health during all this time too? Because I want them to talk about it and really reflect on it. And I think it's important to have that conversation to be like, okay, well, if you're not doing anything to be mindful of your wellness, that's a little alarming. So how can we, better help you and be better at making sure you're okay and you're getting the time that you need personally?
I was just gonna say it's definitely been a struggle for me working from home. I think it was one of the panelists earlier said it's not really working from home, it's living at work now for those of us. And I definitely feel that. So several weeks into all of this, I was like, this is not going to be sustainable, like what I'm doing right now. So I need to make some changes. So some of the things that I tried to do that are helping even slightly, so I guess it's beneficial, was creating like a workspace that's just where I do work. And I don't bring my laptop or my work computer anywhere else in my apartment. Like this is the only place I do work from is right here. So that my living room and my bedroom don't become like work related spaces in my brain. And I completely turned off all notifications after 5 o'clock. Like I am so sucked into this work stuff, like virtually, that after 5 o'clock, like unless I'm on call, like that, no one gets anything else from me. Like I can't give anything else after 5 o'clock. So those have been some of the things that are like strict boundaries that I've communicated with my staff and like tried to role model for my peers and also my staff in that. Because I think we just feel the need always in residence life to be available 24/7, even when we're not on duty, and that isn't sustainable. So those have been some of the big things that I've been trying to do, but it's tough. It's real tough.
Yeah, I just actually started in July here. So I was like in the throes of it all. Talk about, returning back to higher ed, and then in COVID, that was, fun. But my boss has been big on like, you need to take some time. Like she's like, I know you can't take it now. So I like took some days off last week and this week. And I was trying not to like respond to certain emails, but I knew certain ones like needed a certain attention. So we talked today. She was like, why did you respond? And I was like, I know. So I think just figuring out this is a time where stuff has to be managed still, but you still also need to have like your own mental capacity be good. So for me, I've been trying to like work out or continue to do that. We are supposed to work 3 days a week in our office, which I live on campus, so it's like right across the street, and then 2 days in our apartment. And so for me, just trying to cut off at a certain time as best possible definitely has helped. But knowing that this is just a new territory. And so figuring out what that balance is going to look like before COVID isn't going anywhere right now. So this is a new normal. And so figuring out what our new normal with COVID, I think, and being able to have some mental health piece is going to be different.
Yeah. And, so when Misty was speaking, I just felt like I really wanted to clarify, like, you don't have to be working on a campus that's open to be completely stressed out and just overwhelmed, because I know just like the headaches that I have being open are not the headaches that you have being closed. And I would imagine that almost feels even harder because you're like, there's just nothing, what can you go on? So I just want to clarify, because I didn't want anyone thinking like, oh, they're open, so it's harder. I don't think anything that any Res Life office is doing open or closed right now is particularly easy. And that is why I really wanted to start off by saying like, how are we? Because it's just such it messes with your head sometimes, like what are we living in right now? And that's just with the pandemic. Forget about like, George Floyd and, not being able to get new jobs and like, our climate, like there's big things happening. Van Halen died. Like, we need a break 2020. Good grief. So anyway, that was my little spiel there. I know I want to leave some time here. I kind of wanted to give everyone a chance to maybe just kind of say, I know this sounds like a downer, but I think it could be helpful. Something that you are really worrying about as related to your job, down the horizon. Like, for me, it's figuring out RA selection in like a group process during these times. What is it that you, aside from the, we have to get better with our contact tracing or moving students in and out, what parts of the Res Life job that we all know and have done, what has you nervous, or has you like, oh gosh, I don't even want to start thinking about that yet? What are those things down the pipeline that you're starting to get worried about? And maybe not even a job function, like a responsibility, but maybe just something related to it.
I think for me, because of the significant shift of pivoting from being open to going remote and all of that, we are now having to have discussions about layoffs and furloughs of live-in staff members and administrative support folks within our department. And the being at different tables, so tables with higher administration where they feel one way and having to sit and listen to things, and then being in a department meeting and hearing my live-in staff who are ultimately going to be the ones impacted, hearing their concerns and struggles, and knowing that over the course of the next couple of weeks, that's going to become a reality in our department and for some of our staff members. And that's really hard, and what I'm dreading most about the next couple of weeks and months, and what that means for our team and for those individuals who've worked so hard to do all of this, and now we're not going to be able to employ them anymore.
Yeah, that's rough.
I would say my biggest worry is going into the spring is our numbers. I know we're already at half staff, but with the continuation of mostly all online classes, I feel that a lot of the students that we currently have are going to be like, well, I could probably take these classes from home and not come back. And, with everything being virtual and not having really that engagement piece, a lot of them are probably like, this isn't what I was expecting. And I'm just really worried that we're going to take a hit come the spring. And then what does that look like for, staffing and other things like that? So that's probably my biggest worry.
No, that makes total sense. And going back to what we were saying before, like, what's the spring going to look like? That number, the number of students is a huge lever that whichever way it's pulled can determine so many things. Definitely. Who else? Anyone else?
For me, I would say my college campus, we haven't had any positive cases at all. Even since the fall, we've never had a positive case. So very grateful, not complaining at all. But my biggest fear is when we do have that positive case, what that's going to look like for our campus. We're preparing for it. We have the plans for the plans, but as not having to see it firsthand, that is my fear, and how that's going to spread like wildfire when we're a small campus of about 300 people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think similar. I'm a small campus as well, and I oversee all of them, the director of housing, but I have a small staff, and just being able to keep my staff like motivated, because they're on the front line. I mean, I am too, but they really are. And so how to keep them motivated with enforcing policy with COVID. Like, we haven't had any alcohol, so like everything is just mask and COVID related and like so over it. And I was like, I know, and there's only but so much I can do without being able to try to change the behavior of students that actually like want to keep the campus safe. And so just trying to keep them motivated to be like, you're doing a good job. Go crazy on the students, like, how do we, stay in a good space? I think is what I'm trying to think of. But also, if we do bring more students back, what does that look like? How do we manage all of that? It makes me definitely nervous because we haven't shut down. We've almost made it to November, which I'm very happy about. But going into the spring, I think people just have the concept that like stuff is normal again. It's not. Like, I've had parents email and like, oh yeah, in the spring when stuff is back. And I'm like, what spring are y'all talking about? Because spring that I see is very similar to this fall. We've just gone through it a little bit, so we get an understanding of how to manage it. But my fear, people are coming back and it's like business as usual, and it's like accountability, like how are students and staff going to hold each other accountable? Because that's another piece that no one wants to talk about. You know, having it be on mostly either student life or housing. So to hold each other accountable. And so what does that look like, right? Where people have never had to say something to someone else. Now you have to tell them like, hey, your mask is off, or, you know, your social distance. So those are all things that I feel nervous about, because I feel like people are nervous about how to do it or don't know.
Yeah. One of the things I'm nervous about is we're already down 3 professional staff in our department with firing freezes. So I'm worried about when they do say, oh yeah, we're bringing everybody back to campus, and we are still hiring, can't hire people potentially, and then try to open a campus down staff. My co-AD resigned a few weeks ago, so I'm now task manager, project manager for everything under the sun that our department wants to work on right now. And then we lost a community director because a lot of our entry-level staff are looking to leave higher ed and residence life right now. And those jobs are still hiring and are like still happening. So I think that's something that I'm more worried about too, is when we do welcome students back and move to a more in-person, that we're going to be significantly down staff. But I have to hop off because I'm presenting at 3:00, but this was great. I'll see y'all later.
Thanks, Misty. Yeah, I wanted to keep us, just give us enough time to talk. I knew kind of going into this wasn't going to be like a traditional mid-level roundtable where we talk about like mid-level in general. I really feel like there is the need to just talk about this difficult stuff that we're going through. And so I wanted to just give some time for that. Yeah. Anyone else want to like share in these few minutes that we have, like I guess other things that you're worrying about? It's really interesting to hear like everyone's like talking about something. I'm like, yes, I've thought of that, or ooh, didn't think about that one so much. Like how we hope we have enough students that we stay open, and then that fear of if we get too many students, how are we going to handle this? Like these are real things that we are worrying about. Anyone else want to just kind of talk about like what they are thinking of and it's kind of keeping them a little up at night?
I would just add really quick, I worry that we're adapting too much instead of kind of buckling down until there is a past this kind of time, which is going to be definitely not in the spring. I echo that. I'm already thinking spring, like it is anyway. But that we're adapting so much that kind of on the other side of this, there's going to be a lot of this stuff. I'm fearing that it's going to say, well, you all did that for, gosh, like 6-7 months, two whole semesters. You can keep doing that, right? Like the various extra that we're taking on. Like I fear that that's not going to as quickly come back off of our plates unless we're very cognizant and move it off of our plates as soon as we can, because it'll stay there until it's not. So I fear how much this is just university, field, country, like at whatever level, we're just adapting instead of like solving.
Yeah.
So
I think Emily was saying that earlier, something like you're taking on, oh, maybe it was Kelly, like you're here, you're on campus, so just do this. And Res Life is taking on so many things. Sometimes I'm like, I hope they don't think we're still going to do this once COVID is over. But then you're like, when is it actually going to be over? Same thing. It's like maybe next spring, 2021, 22. Like, what is this? I don't know. Mr. Placino, I saw you have your hand raised.
I think one of the things that I'm struggling with right now is with everything that's happening in the country as it relates to race relations and how that stuff started to come through, and it was like a firestorm where we can actually there was some substantial movement for some progress, and then that seems to have kind of started to become slower burning embers as people continue to be just getting exhausted by COVID. And I feel like, some of the positive changes that we're trying to make here at Stockton, aside from executive orders being what they are and becoming a whole new set of challenges, if any of you haven't had to experience some of that stuff happening, But between that and COVID fatigue, that college as a whole might never go back to the way it was. And with that being what it is, what does that mean, that residential life? Because now I'm an ops guy through and through. That's what my job is. But I do identify with the idea that when we come out on the other side of this, what does that world look like? Do we care anymore about programming? Do we care anymore about all the things that have made us student affairs professionals for the last, some of us, 10, 15 years? And what, on the flip side of, I think Andrew was the one saying, will they look at us and say, okay, well, you've been doing it, so just keep doing it? Versus what if they say, well, we've shown that we don't need it. And do we just become building managers at that point completely and thoroughly? And well, when the new budgets open up and things become better, well, we can reappropriate those funds to do something else. Whereas, this ship still needs money to run, to go down through the waters, and time and staff and all these other things. And I'm just afraid of what college is going to look like after. I know Debbie Schreiber had serendipitously shared an article about 2.5 years ago that said by 2025, half colleges and universities would be gone. And that was prior to COVID.
Yeah.
And so what does that mean for our field, our industry that has done so much work and has tried to push the ball forward on so many different fronts? What does that mean? What does that mean if we were already looking at a potential seismic shift? What happens after COVID? That's the stuff that keeps me up at night, is thinking about, a lot of us had plans to be in here for the long haul. And what does that look like when we do hopefully come out on the other end of this rainbow?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I just, for the sake of time, there's really no other questions. I thought about being like, what's a positive interaction we've had? But part of me also is like, just wants to be realistic and be like, I've been saying this a lot to my RAs, and it's funny because I really don't curse in front of them, but my boss is like, you can get a little creative if you want to. And I've just been telling them right now, we all just have to sit in the shit. Like, we just have to sit in it and deal with it, because we can't, worrying about it isn't going to make COVID go any faster. And I feel like I feel better sometimes being like, yeah, all those things suck to talk about, but I don't feel like we're ending this necessarily on a sad note, because it is what it is. I don't think anyone said anything here that someone's been like, oh, I wasn't staying up late at night worrying about that. Like, we've all had these thoughts and have been working through it. And I think if anything, what I appreciate is just having had the chance to hear other people kind of saying what I'm saying, because I don't feel as crazy, like this lived experience that I'm having is very similar to what you are experiencing in terms of the nervous energy, the uncertainty, the concern. And, I think that's like how I'm trying to get through it, is like, it's just going to be really difficult for right now. And we keep on, moving. And I don't have any other sage-like advice other than I just appreciate everyone here. I'm really glad that, even in a virtual format, you were all able to take time to attend this and hopefully a few other sessions. What's going to happen is I just went ahead and I threw my email address into the chat. I've got everyone's names. I'm going to work with Misty to get email addresses, and I'll just, send something out like next steps. I am the outgoing EC rep, so if anyone is interested, you can let me or Misty know. If you'd like to save this chat, if you just go into that participant screen and you click on the 3 dots in the bottom right-hand corner, you can save the chat. But I believe James had said that the way that this is set up, the chat should be saved and go out to everyone, I think also with the recording. But again, my name is Liz. I'm at St. Joe's in Philly. If you need anything, please email me. Good luck, everyone. It was so nice meeting some of you and seeing familiar faces. And I hope the best for all of you. Thanks for being here, everyone. All right.
Take care, everybody.
Take care.